A long time ago, I made a video about what feature or anything in general I would choose from each generation in order to create my perfect Pokemon game. Back then, I chose generation and not every single game, since most of the time there's really not a lot of differences from game to game within the same gen, something that kinda changed on the Switch. When I did it, we still didn't have the last 3 Pokemon games that came out, and so I think it's time for a redo. So hey, I'm not so ace trainer, and what would I choose? Let's get into it. I'm on record saying that my perfect Pokemon game would be a mix between Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet. The fun gameplay from the Legends game paired with the character's mystery and open world of the Gen 9 game could really be amazing. But here, we'll take a look at more niche things than just that. I don't think that I have to say that I want you to tell me your choices in the comments down below. We'll go one thing per generation until we reach Gen 7, and then we'll go one per game starting on the Switch games, so from Let's Go to Scarlet and Violet. And since you're down there in the comments anyway, might as well like the video and subscribe to the channel, right? Let's start with Gen 1. Just like in the last video, for Gen 1 I will choose Team Rocket. This time though, I don't actually want to see Team Rocket again, but something similar to them. Evil teams ever since Gen 1 and 2 became incredibly over the top. They no longer search for money or power, but otherworldly beings that can bend reality or live in a place that most people cannot reach. This goes hand in hand with the evolution of legendaries and lore in Pokemon games, but I would like to see something simple like this once again. As much as cult leaders or insane businessmen are interesting to see, something more mundane like a criminal organization running society like Giovanni did would be a very welcome breath of fresh air. Maybe Gen 10, since it is a big milestone, pays homage to this original concept and gives us something like that for a change. I wouldn't be mad with simply having an evil team though, since it's better than misunderstood kids. Nothing against Team Star though. On to Gen 2. Johto is my favorite region, and it did introduce a lot of things into the Pokemon franchise. All of that made sure that Pokemon would continue to be a beast for years and years to come. And while I'd want to choose the overall vibe of Johto, since I think we only got close to it in Gen 9 with Kitakami, I think I'll go with what I chose back in the day as well, the post-game. Even 3 years after I made that video, there's still nothing that compares to visiting 2 regions in the same game in the way we did in those games. Yeah, we did it in Scarlet and Violet. In fact, we technically visited 3 regions, Paldea, Unova, and whatever region Kitakami is in. But it was not the same at all. Seeing how Kanto had changed and being able to actually challenge for the gyms in that region gave us a second adventure in the same game, and I don't think they can even make something like that ever again. I honestly don't know if they want to. They might want to leave that as the Johto thing. Still, that doesn't stop me from putting that in my perfect game. And so, on to Gen 3. Nothing changed here as well when it comes to my opinion, since they haven't done anything to change it either. I want the underwater back. Pokemon is a game about exploring, catching, and battling. Having more places where you can lose yourself exploring with more Pokemon to catch and maybe even with some trainers to battle is just amazing. The underwater from Hoenn gave you exactly that. Well, except the trainers. But you could battle Pokemon. There were hidden locations, exclusive Pokemon, entrances to cities, and just an overall explorer's vibe that you just cannot replicate with a cave or something like that. I really thought we would see this return in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, since the game was kind of about exploration, but I was sadly very wrong. I'll also leave a bonus one here for secret bases. They were really cool. And now, on to Gen 4. While in Gen 4 we saw the deepening of the Pokemon lore, and that was my choice back in the day, since I am greatly interested in this, I feel like Pokemon lore is even deeper now, so there's no need to choose that. Because of that, I'll go with the obvious one. The challenge when we needed a challenge. They made the Elite Four and gyms feel like a true battle that you had to sweat in order to win. It's no coincidence that to this day, Cynthia is still the one we go to when we talk about a scary strong champion, and I would love to see something like that return in a future game. After all, we did have enough of easy Elite Four and champions as of late. This would also apply to BDSP of course, but I have something about those games that I really liked, and I'll tell you about it when we reach them. For now we have Unova and Gen 5. I think it's hard to choose something from Gen 5 when so much was already established by the end of the 2D era. But there was something they did that I don't think many were able to do nearly as well. I'm not gonna go on your typical "oh, Gen 5 plot is so good", since it was good, but I kinda prefer the Gen 7 one. Still, if there's one thing they got right was how to make every rival, every gym leader, the evil team and the lore of the game actually feel like parts of a whole. I recently made a video about this exact thing, and it's undeniable that it is something that is missing from Gen 9, and while it was done in other gens, it was never done as well as in Gen 5. The sequel only made this even more evident, with the characters around you having evolved but still having a role to play in the story. As I said, not exclusive to Gen 5, but 100% the best example of this. And now we enter the 3D era with Pokémon X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. There's a lot that I love about these games. I was gonna choose the amount of Pokémon you have available in each route, since that always makes X and Y crazy fun for me. But there's another thing that someone like me really loves. And by someone like me, I mean a shiny hunter. Pokémon X and Y had a lot of different methods to shiny hunt Pokémon, besides your run-of-the-mill random encounters and breeding. You had chain fishing, you had horde hunting, which I guess is our current outbreak method. You also had the Friend Safari and the return of the Poké Radar. And you even have the Dex Nav in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. All of this helped you not get as tired of shiny hunting as if you were simply always doing the same thing. To me, someone that likes to shiny hunt, it would be a welcome change to a process that, honestly, has grown a little bit stale for those who also like the journey and not just the destination. But now, let's move on to Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. This gen has my favorite story, like I said, and I love that they took a risk with the removal of gyms in favor of the Island Challenge. But what I really liked was the introduction of Weird in Pokémon. At this point, Weird was found mostly in Pokédex entries, but never really explored. The addition of Ultra Beasts and Ultra Space, now that is what I call using the concept right. I could pair these with the multiverse aspect of the Ultra Space, but all of that ends up fitting in the weird category. Weird worlds, weird Pokémon, weird civilizations, absolutely amazing things to find in Pokémon. The Ultra Beasts and Ultra Space walked so Paradox Pokémon could run. It's crazy what a change that brought to the table and how unexpected it made the next Pokémon game. But now let's go to Let's Go, an unexpected game with a very easy choice. Let's Go, for how much slack it gets, well, it is, to me, the best looking Pokémon game we have. The characters have a perfect mix of cartoonish and realistic, the Pokémon look fantastic, and the overall colors of the game are beautiful and vibrant. I'd be happy if every Pokémon game found a way to look exactly or very close to Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. It's probably something that will never happen, as they keep changing the visual approach from one game to the next, but this is not about what's likely to happen, but what I want to happen. So let's enter Gen 8 and go to Sword and Shield. These games were controversial, and 100% will forever be followed by that. But I don't think anyone can deny how amazingly they changed the multiplayer landscape of Pokémon. Max Raids and even more, in my opinion, Dynamax Adventures made Pokémon such an incredible, almost social experience, especially during the pandemic. I had a blast playing those and would love to see something similar in the future, even if not in any way related to legendary Pokémon. Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet had the Terra Raids, and those were fine, but the more continuous challenge like the Dynamax Adventures, it's just better. They got close to it with the BBQs in the Blueberry Academy, but not quite enough. And so next we have everyone's favorite, BDSP. Not a lot to say here, so I'll just go back to something that was also in the originals but had a bit of an expansion in the remakes, although it kinda also had something taken away. What I mean is the Grand Underground with the Pokémon Dance. Like with Underwater in Hoenn, the Grand Underground gives us another layer to explore, something that can, in turn, offer you more ways to get Pokémon, more nooks and crannies to explore, and of course, possible battles. Something that makes Pokémon even more fun. Imagine a game where you have the regular map and the ability to explore underwater and the ability to explore an underground maze. That would be incredible and likely something we'll never get to see. We do expect Legends ZA to have an underground though. But speaking of Legends, the next game is Legends Arceus. There is one clear winner here, and that is the overall gameplay style. The fact that you can throw your Pokeballs without engaging in a battle, the fact that you can move if you do decide to engage in one, and the fact that Pokemon actually attack you while outside of the battle. It's honestly impossible to choose one since they all make the game what it is. If you could throw balls out of the battle, but the Pokemon didn't care you were there, then it wouldn't be as cool, for example. But if I really had to choose one, I think I would choose the Pokemon reacting to you or attacking you and you suffering damage and needing to dodge and run. That made the game feel so much more alive. The gameplay becomes a lot more engaging as you need to constantly be on the lookout for a possible threat. Like I said, I would put all of this inside the Pokémon Legends gameplay style package if you don't consider that cheating. And now for the last one, Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet. The Gen 9 games to me have two options, either the open world or the character design, and I think I'd go with the latter. I am a sucker for exploration and open world 100% feels like a very appealing choice, but Legends Arceus or even any well-made, more linear game could easily feed me the exploration I need. After all, I never felt the game was empty most of the time back in the linear days. What I felt a lot was how most of the time I didn't care as much for the characters as I should. Here, despite the lack of a cohesive story, we had amazing characters that made me care. When we reached the end of the game, we were happy we had an adventure with Arvan, Penny, and Amona, and even Clavel and Clive, whoever he is. The DLC did the same with an amazing cast of characters both in Kitakami and the Blueberry Academy. If we can get something like this once again, I'll be more than happy to adventure through the world by their side, be it an open world or a linear world, as long as I can get to the end and be like, yeah, they're cool, I'll remember them. And so, let's make a summary. My perfect Pokémon game with one thing from each generation and Switch title would have an evil team similar to Team Rocket with a more mundane and criminal goal like in Gen 1, and a post-game that let us explore something more nostalgic like a previous region as they did in Gen 2. It would give us plenty of options to adventure with not only the main map but also the underwater like in Gen 3 and an underground area with Pokémon spawns like BDSP. The story would not only have compelling, well-made characters like Scarlet and Violet, but they would also interact with each other and the plot itself throughout the game as in Gen 5. The game would have the visuals of Let's Go while having a gameplay style similar to Legends Arceus and a multiplayer aspect that rivaled that of Sword and Shield. The true battles would be a challenge like in Gen 4 and shiny hunting would be full of various methods like in Gen 6. And above all, weird would 100% be part of the plot as it was in Gen 7. And that is all I have for you today, my perfect Pokemon game using only what we already had. But what about you? How would you build your perfect Pokemon game? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. Also, you can become a channel member or check out my merch in order to further support the channel. I'd be forever thankful for that. You can follow me on social media or check out one of my streams here and on Twitch. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.